Good morning, I'm Amelin Veloso. Today is the Feast of the Black Nazarene. In a few moments, the statue of the Black Nazarene will begin its hours-long journey from the Quirino Grandstand to the Quiapo Church. Happening now is the morning prayer, and following right after is the Traslacion. Millions of devotees are expected to participate in today's event. It's going to be a long day. Last year's Traslacion lasted over 20 hours and over 1.5 million people participated. Let's get more details on what's happening on the ground. Claudine Trillo joins us from the Quirino Grandstand where the procession will begin. Claude, what are you seeing there right now?
Amelin, that's right. Another year, another celebration of the Feast of the Black Nazarene. And as you can see here around me, people have already been arriving in large numbers in time for the 5 o'clock morning prayer, which is what you're hearing in the background. And millions of devotees expected to join this year's Traslacion, which begins here in the Quirino Grandstand and ends in the Quiapo Church in Manila. Now, last year, Amelin, 1.5 million devotees joined the Traslacion, which lasted a full 20 hours. The longest being back in 2012, lasting 22 hours. And we are expecting the same amount of time this year for the whole procession. It depends, of course, on the number of people who join this year and the stampedes that it sometimes causes. Of course, we know that devotees of the Black Nazarene believe that touching the statue causes miraculous things in their lives, which, of course, adds to the stampedes that happen every year. And I'm guessing that this year won't be any different. Of course, security is very tight in the area this morning. When we arrived here, I already saw a whole lot of police personnel deployed in the area. It seems very safe right now. People are calm. But of course, we know that in the morning, this is the calm part of the entire procession. And later will be a bit rowdy. Security has been heightened up a notch. And that's also because of the whispered terror attacks that have been going around. But of course, AFP, the Armed Forces of the Philippines, reminds all of the people watching right now that security forces have been deployed. Everything is supposed to be safe today in time for the Black Nazarene. So I'll just be here, Amelin. I'll be keeping a tight watch and I'll be giving you a rundown of today's events here in the Quirino Grandstand. Back to you, Am.
Claudine Trillo there. She will join us again later and give us updates on the procession constantly throughout the morning. Manila Archbishop Luis Antonio Cardinal Tagle calls on the Filipino faithful to emulate Jesus' love, especially for the sinners. Tagle delivered the homily in the Mass of the Feast of the Black Nazarene early Monday morning. He reminded Filipinos of how God taught us how to love one another. Tagle says Jesus of Nazarene had a special love for the sinners, a love free of judgment and doing good for others.
Ang pag-ibig mo ay hindi lamang damdamin. Ang pag-ibig ay hindi lamang ideya. Ang pag-ibig, sabi natin kanina, nakikita ko sa kapwa ang hindi iba sa akin. Pero pagkatapos kong makita ang kapwa, ang kapatid, ito ay umuwi sa gawa ng pag-ibig, paglapit at sa gawa kami ay nabubuklod.
Authorities are expecting about 18 million devotees to join the procession. Our Trisha Terada walks us through the route of the Traslacion.
Millions will converge at the Quirino Grandstand for the Traslacion, and this is where the procession would begin. In previous years, the parade usually takes some 16 hours. From Quirino Grandstand, the Black Nazarene's andas or carriage will turn left on Katigbak Drive through Padre Burgos, then left on Taft Avenue through Jones Bridge.
We are here on Jones Bridge from Quirino Grandstand. This is where devotees could expect a bottleneck and definitely a slowdown because as you can see behind me, the road is quite narrow. Even vehicles are having a hard time getting past this bridge. Upon looking around, the devotees must beware of these dilapidated or worn out railings. It will be very difficult, especially during the spillover when they would be pushing against each other.
Both lanes will be closed. These pedicab drivers will temporarily stop operations. They insist on parking their pedicabs on the street side. They don't think they're causing obstruction to devotees joining the Traslacion.
Hindi na kami makabiyahe kasi wala na sasakay. At nandiyan na. Pati yung mga nag-opisina dyan, nasa rooftop na. Kami, ganun na rin ma'am. Nanonood na lang kami. Mga nagsasampahan ng mga tao sa Nazareno. Pero okay lang yun ma'am, para sa ano naman yan, Kristyanismo yan.
From Jones Bridge, the Andas will turn right on Dasmariñas and Plaza Santa Cruz. It will take a left on C. Palanca Street, which is supposed to be a wide road if not for the street vendors. But they know their limits on the day of Traslacion. Ruby Diasalo, for one, says she will move her cart to the elevated area so she won't get caught. And instead of selling barbecue, she may just settle for beverages.
Hindi po. Mineral po yung tinitinda namin, mga soft drinks. Talagang ayoko magtinda ng may stick kasi iniisip ko baka matusok sila.
A few days before the main event, streets are still littered with trash, such as these sticks, which can cause injury to devotees on barefoot. Ruby says these will be cleared in time for the procession. Authorities will also clear this motorcycle parking area, which occupies a big space on Palanca Street. From here, the routes get narrower as procession goes to the smaller and crowded streets. That's from Arlegui, Fraternal, Nepomuceno, Concepcion Aguila, Carcer, and Hidalgo. Street vendors also occupy will take a break on the day of Traslacion, while others will still operate. Besides the identified routes, nearby streets will also be full of devotees, like Gonzalo Street. Its residents are even excited to join the parade. Residents are preparing t-shirts that will be given free to devotees. This has been Ria and family's commitment, or Panata, together with other sponsors.
Taon-taon. Bali, tuwing magtatatak kami, tapos pagdating ng pinaplantya. Tapos pagdating ng A8, binibigay na sa mga mamamasan yung mga damit. Kasi minsan pag alam nang nandyan na yung lubid, yung ibang tao nagpupuntahan dito para hindi maipit.
From here, the Black Nazarene carriage will take ZP de Guzman Street, then Hidalgo. It will turn left on A. Bautista, then to the crowded street of Globo de Oro. The parade will proceed to Palanca Street, then to Villalobos through Plaza Miranda, until it finally returns to Quiapo Church. Trisha Terada, CNN, Philippines.
Government agencies are on alert for Traslacion 2017. The National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council has activated its response clusters for any eventuality during the event. NDRRMC Executive Director Ricardo Halad says their operations center in Camp Aguinaldo, Quezon City is on alert for both Traslacion and Tropical Depression Auring. The Health Department has placed all hospitals in Metro Manila under Code Blue Alert. This means half of all hospital personnel shall report for duty. The agency will be in constant coordination with the NDRRMC to monitor the situation. DOH spokesperson Eric Tayan says they are deploying 8 medical teams along the Traslacion route. The MMDA is also imposing a temporary truck ban along Rojas Boulevard from Quirino Avenue to Andas Circle. Osmeña Highway is also covered by this directive. The truck ban is now in effect and will remain until 1 p.m. I spoke to crowd management and security consultant Martin Aguda Jr. on how the Traslacion crowd should prepare in case of an attack during the procession. Here are some of his tips.
Well, first I have to tell you that all special events, specifically with significant number of crowd, or we call that mass gathering, is always a possible target for the bad elements, for the terrorists. Primarily because it will produce mass casualties, and for the bad elements to be identified because they are lost in the crowd. So what I'm saying is that mass gatherings are really possible targets for the bad elements. Now, we can't really make a foolproof security planning there, but with DILG and PNP and Armed Forces of the Philippines hand in hand doing their security plans for this event, maybe the public now will play a major role. The participants of the Traslacion, yung mga deboto will play a major role by being extra vigilant. We call this in security parlance situational awareness, being aware of the crowd. And again, whenever there is a high threat for terrorism, we always advise people to be extra vigilant. No, when they see something, we have to report it to authorities. That is suspicious persons, unattended baggages, those things.
Okay, so what are these things? So suspicious persons. I mean, how would you qualify a suspicious person or a suspicious, like a group of people, for example?
Well, again, suspicious activities, actually not really persons, because the reason why special events and mass gatherings are targeted by terrorists is that the bad elements, the terrorists are lost in the crowd, which means that they will be difficult to be spotted.
So what are these? What are actions that may lead you to believe that they may be doing illegal activities?
The modus of terrorism have changed. No? Before it was just bombing, and we have seen in international terrorism that the enemies have been using several modes, like a truck being hijacked and being used to ram people. That's the traditional, like spotting suspicious person and spotting suspicious, like baggages. That is important. Whenever they see unattended things, anything that is not supposed to be there, for example, a truck suddenly sparked somewhere, and it has to be spotted and should be reported to authorities.
In case of a bombing, we're not saying that there will be a bomb attack, or in case of any explosion for that matter, what should one do? Should one try to get away from the area, stand down, or what?
Well, you know that Traslacion is a highly charged event, no? Meaning people really are into this adrenaline rush, no, without even a threat for terrorism. What is important now is that people, whenever something happens, the primary reaction, actually, people should move away from the ground zero, no, from the hot zone. And again, it's important that the adrenaline-charged crowd should follow instructions by the authorities and prevent panicking and running in all directions. So evacuation planning is very important, especially for the organizers.
Okay, so with or without the threat, Martin, what should the public remember? I mean, just your your final advice for those who will be attending the Traslacion this Monday.
Yeah, for the crowd management tip or advice, the Traslacion ever since has traditions to follow. Now, that is expecting crowding, physical challenges are really observed in the Traslacion. The event itself actually may bring some injuries because of the activity itself. So I would suggest that each participant, yung namamanata, should adhere to the arranged procedures, like they have to adhere to the arranged route. For example, they have to follow queuing procedures. In that way, skirmishes or misunderstandings, which can be mistaken as something unusual, can be prevented. And again, they have to be alert. As always, it's not the first time, Amelin, that a threat was attributed to this type of activity. For several years back, a threat was also given or attributed to the Traslacion activity.
Again, that was crowd management and security consultant Martin Aguda Jr. Organizers are now preparing the carriage of what many describe as a miraculous figure. Our Cecilar Dizabal shows us how the so-called andas will look like this year.
It needs a rehearsal to make sure the carriage for the Black Nazarene parade can withstand hours of pulling and tugging, not to mention the millions of devotees who would do everything to get on it. This year, organizers are using solid rubber tires to avoid a wheel malfunction in the past that resulted in a longer procession. There is a steering wheel and 2 roller guide wheels. An extra steering wheel is on standby in case one breaks down. These improvements can take in 50 or more riders on the carriage, but the concerns remain.
Na-stress din ako dahil siyempre anything can happen during the procession.
Organizers are discouraging devotees from climbing the carriage, except for the so-called hijos or certain participants who are allowed to wipe the image. That's why they extended the panels to 2.5 meters high, and they tapered the exterior to a pyramid-like shape.
Para kasi to minimize the crowd, the accidents, the chaos.
On the outside, the carriage is made up of stainless steel panels. The inside is made of galvanized tube and iron steel. The carriage will have proper ventilation. Organizers also maintain the checkered plates of the exterior and some ornaments.
Right now, the team is busy doing, as you can see, last-minute reinforcements and revisions and design to make sure that everything is ready before the feast itself. And the organizers plan to transport the float on Sunday evening.
Jeepney manufacturer Sarao has committed to manufacture the carriage since the 1960s.
Every year doing the service maintenance for the andas, no, parang nakakaluwag sa loob. dahil you're doing something good.
This is also the case for these people who are involved in the manufacturing of the carriage for many years.
Malaking karangalan kasi sa amin kasi pinaparada to sa pangkalatang mga Kristyanismo dito sa Pilipinas sa taon-taon.
Cecil Ardizabal, CNN Philippines.
Again, let's take a look at where the procession will pass. The procession starts from Quirino Grandstand, turn left to Katigbak Drive, then through P. Burgos Street. It will turn left to Taft Avenue, then pass through Jones Bridge. After that, the procession turns right on Dasmariñas Street, right on Plaza Santa Cruz Street, then left on Carlos Palanca Sr. Street by passing under Quezon Bridge. From there, it will turn left again to Quezon Boulevard, then make a right on Arlegui Street, then on to Fraternal Vergara, Duque de Alba, Castillejos, and left on Farnesio Street. The procession will turn right again on Arlegui Street, left on Nepomuceno, left on Concepcion Aguila, proceed to Carcer Street. It will then turn right on Hidalgo through Plaza del Carmen, left on Bilibid Viejo through Hilpuyat, left again on ZP de Guzman Street, all the way to Hidalgo Street. The procession will then turn left on A. Bautista Street, turn right on Globo de Oro by passing under Quezon Bridge, and right on Palanca Street. From there, it will turn to Villalobos through Plaza Miranda, and finally to Quiapo Church. A number of devotees are waiting for the Black Nazarene carriage at the Bonifacio Shrine. Our senior correspondent David Santos is on the ground with the latest. David, what's happening there right now?
Well, good Monday morning to you, Ameline, and to our televiewers. Well, still a bit chilly morning from where we are now, 22 degrees Celsius on the weather app. And we are coming to you from the Andres Bonifacio Memorial Shrine. Well, this is just beside the Manila City Hall. This is where emergency response and rescue teams, particularly the Philippine Red Cross, have set up their medical and first aid facilities. This is also where some of the units under the Manila Police District have converged for last-minute briefing prior to their deployment all over Manila today. Now, we also saw a number of Nazareno devotees sleeping at the pavement of the shrine since they had spent the night here in preparation for the Traslacion. Now, this stretch of the Padre Burgos Taft Avenues behind me are part of the traditional route for the annual procession. We were here in the same spot last year where the andas or the wheeled carriage of the Black Nazarene passed through exactly at noontime, which according to people here was at least 2 hours earlier compared to previous years. Now, that gave the impression that last year's procession was more organized and efficient. Now, will today's Traslacion achieve that same record? We will find out as we report to you on the developments from our location here at the Bonifacio Shrine throughout the day. Now, but before that, Amelie, let me tell you that just a few minutes before we went on air, cell phone signals have been cut from our location. We don't know yet the extent up to where the telcos have suspended their services, but it's safe to assume that many of the subscribers, at least from the procession route, will not be having cell phone signals, at least until after the andas had passed through this location, Amelie.
That was David Santos reporting from the Bonifacio Shrine. And later we hear stories of faith and devotion as we continue our coverage of the Feast of the Black Nazarene. We'll be back in a bit. Stay with CNN Philippines. To its home, which is the Minor Basilica of the Black Nazarene. And as you can see right now, a huge number of devotees are there participating in today's Traslacion. Now, this is their significant. There's a significance to their waving of these white handkerchiefs, and later on we will talk to church officials so that we'll find out more about these. Because if you look at it, it seems like they have this motion and they have this particular rhythm to how they join barefooted to join this procession as it transfers. This is this Traslacion, which means to transfer. It's a commemoration of the wooden statue's transfer from the Recollect Church in Intramuros, Manila, where it was first enshrined, to the St. John the Baptist Church in Quiapo, Manila, and that was in 1787. So now it's the 410th anniversary of the Feast of the Black Nazarene. As you can see, the image has now been put up at the andas, or the carriage. And we're trying to see here if we could give you a visual of that. What you're seeing right now are the devotees as they are preparing to move or to be part or take part in the transfer of the carriage, or what is called the Traslacion. Okay, we're seeing now a number of devotees right there. Last year, it was estimated that there were about 1.8 million devotees that participated in the Traslacion. Now, as you can see, it's jam-packed. That's at the Quirino Grandstand. It's not yet moving at the moment, but devotees are now waving their white hankies in anticipation for the start or the transfer of the image of the Black Nazarene. And what you're seeing right now, if you could see a group of men, they're called the hijos, and they're, okay, later on we will give that back to you. They were on top of the andas, which we found out that they made changes to the andas this year. They made it higher or taller. They're still discouraging devotees from going up the carriage. They've also strengthened the tires to prevent any what's called a wheel problems, and they made solid rubber tires to prevent wheel malfunction there in the andas. So anytime now, the Traslacion is about to start. And there are last-minute instructions as well. The crowd management experts are advising devotees to follow queuing processes, to follow directives, to make this Traslacion as orderly and as peaceful as possible. Let's see another shot. Let's see another shot of the Traslacion, which is about to begin. And this time, this is taken from the Manila Hotel. So as you can see, the crowd is already moving, or at least it's this wave of people surrounding the andas with their banners intact. Okay, now Claudine Trillo is there right now at the Quirino Grandstand, and let's ask her what she sees from where she's at. Claude?
Amelin, I'm sure you're seeing what I'm seeing. Again, the morning mass has ended, and what we're seeing now is what happens after, which is the exciting part. You see the spirits of everyone have been heightened up a notch. People excited for the beginning of the Traslacion. This has always been, Amelin, my favorite part of the Black Nazarene procession, when you have all the devotees holding their white handkerchiefs up in the air and singing Nazareno. I cannot even put into words how I feel every time I see this part of the Black Nazarene procession. You really feel the meaning of the word faith. It's being demonstrated right here. People barefoot, practically filling up the entire Quirino Grandstand, ready to join today's Traslacion. Again, as you mentioned, millions expected this year. And right now, Amelin, if you can see, things are still very organized. As I mentioned last year, there's a sort of organized chaos in the Nazarene feast every year. So right now, it's still pretty organized, but we already saw a bunch of people running and trying to get near the the statue, which of course, as I mentioned earlier, people believe that if they touch, miraculous things will happen in their lives. So that's it from my end. We will be seeing the Traslacion move from here to the Quiapo Church in a bit. But as for now, from where I'm standing, it looks peaceful. People just excited to get things going. Amelin.
Okay, we'll get back to you in a while, Claude, so that we could give an update on where the Traslacion is at the moment. So it's about to start anytime now. The morning mass has ended, and we will be monitoring the Traslacion as it happens. And let's look at the live pictures again. And we're showing you live images taken from the Quirino Grandstand. Oh no, this is from the Manila Hotel. So this is a top angle, and as you can see, there's already movement, and as Claude calls it, organized chaos, because actually there really is, they do have an organized rhythm to how they transfer the image of the Black Nazarene from this going back to its home, which is the Minor Basilica of the Black Nazarene in Quiapo. So it may seem as if you could really look at it and you can see it. So it's a wave of people. It's some sort of a wave, and then you can see that they seem to be going in a certain direction as well. Now, devotees coming from all over the Philippines, and I wouldn't be surprised if there will be devotees that come from abroad, are here to celebrate January 9, the Feast of the Black Nazarene. Now, there are only 3 times that the image of the Black Nazarene is taken out from its home, the Quiapo Church. That's on New Year's Day, which is also the start of the Novena, and of course today, which is January 9, the Feast of the Black Nazarene, and also on Good Friday. Now, many devotees have declared not only their devotion, they also talked about miraculous events. They talk about healing, they talk about answered prayers. That's why some even risk their lives just to join the procession, to find a way to touch the statue of the Black Nazarene. They believe that it protects them and it heals them. So we see this every January 9, every year. This has been happening. This procession has been done for the past few decades. And later on, we will have with us here in the studio a church official to tell us more about how this has evolved. It is the 410th anniversary of the Black Nazarene, as it was brought here from Mexico. It is one of the 2 statues of Christ brought from Mexico. The older and more popular copy belonging to the Recollects was destroyed in World War II during the liberation of Manila. Now, it says that originally the image of the Black Nazarene had a fair complexion, but when it arrived in the Philippines, the color turned darker. So that's what we see of the image of the Black Nazarene. Now we're looking now at of course, that's the andas, the hijos, or the hijos of the Black Nazarene. The hijos del Nazareno are on top. They are guiding the crowd. They are giving instructions, giving signals. One seems to be either pointing or, okay, they're just giving signals that it's moving right now. So the andas is moving. So officially the procession is starting, and they're asking the people to give way for the carriage to pass, which is the andas. Now the image of the Black Nazarene is a life-size dark wooden sculpture of Jesus Christ carrying the cross. It is said to represent his passion and suffering, and is believed to be miraculous. So the hijos del Nazareno, they're on top of the andas or the carriage. They're receiving these white hankies from the crowd and then wiping it on the image and giving it back to the person. There seems to be some order to it because somehow It's being done, and the person giving it is trusting that it will return to him or her. Somebody's doing accounting. And of course, there's singing and prayers. Let's take a listen at the sounds that we're hearing right now there in the Quirino Grandstand. The Traslacion begins, and this is going to be a slow procession, an hours-long procession that can last from 14 to about 20 hours. The andas is now moving. The procession has begun. Devotees surrounding the image of the Black Nazarene on top of its carriage or the andas. People in prayer. This is just right after the morning mass, which started a little before 5 in the morning. And the Hijos del Nazareno, that's the group of people on top of the carriage. They're wearing the yellow shirts with the maroon sleeves. And again, the CNN Philippines will have a comprehensive coverage of this Traslacion 2017. We have correspondents on the ground monitoring this procession, and we will be giving you updates every now and then and showing you live images every now and then of the Traslacion 2017. Now here's another look at where the Traslacion will pass through in its journey. The procession starts from Quirino Grandstand, turn left to Katigbak Drive, then through P. Burgos Street. It will turn left to Taft Avenue, then pass through Jones Bridge. After that, the procession turns right on Dasmariñas Street, right on Plaza Santa Cruz Street, then left on Carlos Palanca Sr. Street by passing under Quezon Bridge. From there, it will turn left again to Quezon Boulevard, then make a right on Arlegues Street, then onto Fraternal, Vergara, Duque de Alba, Castillejos, and left on Farnesio Street. The procession will turn right again on Arlegues Street, left on Nepomuceno, left on Concepcion Aguila, proceed to Carcer Street. It will then turn right on Hidalgo through Plaza del Carmen, left on Bilibid Viejo through Gil Puyat, left again on ZP de Guzman Street, all the way to Hidalgo Street. The procession will then turn left on A. Bautista Street, turn right on Globo de Oro by passing under Quezon Bridge, and right on Palanca Street. From there, it will turn to Villalobos through Plaza Miranda, and finally to Quiapo Church. Each year, the Black Nazarene feast continues to draw more devotees from all walks of life. Our Ivy Saunar talked to some of them as they explain their devotion to the revered image of Christ.
Just what is it that makes these devotees wait in line for hours, day till night? Others may wonder, but for the thousands of Black Nazarene devotees, they came here for a purpose. Some to offer thanksgiving, others to say their wishes to the Black Nazarene, which is believed to be miraculous.
Yung hindi lang po kami magkaroon ng karamdaman, sobrang blessing na po yun.
Pang 11 hours na namin nakatayo dito, upo tayo, ganun, walang kain. Okay lang kasi parang hindi kami napapagod. Maraming answered prayers sa akin, tsaka mga blessings na dumating.
Siyempre, inihiling din na yung kalusugan at saka yung maayos na pamilya. Lahat na problema dumarating, nalalagpasan naman namin. Kaya yun, bilang pasasalamat na rin itong ginagawa ko.
Mary Libay has been attending the annual feast alone for the last 6 years, until this year when she finally brought her children with her. It's a challenge though, as children will have to make some sacrifice too, just like other devotees. Her solution?
Nagdala na rin ako ng tent, tapos ito, nagbumili na rin ako ng panapin para maging komportable yung mga bata. Kasi kung kasama pa sila talaga napipila, parang maano yung bata, maiinip sobra.
But military personnel won't allow these for security reasons.
Pag hindi kayo sumunod sa instruction nila sa amin, kumpiskahin po yan.
So, to beat the heat, devotees will have to make do with fans and umbrellas for now. After all, even a little sacrifice has its rewards. Ivy Saunar, CNN Philippines.
Let's check on where the statue of the Black Nazarene is now. And we are taking you live to the Quirino Grandstand. And we're showing you live images of the Traslacion that has started. This is the Traslacion 2017. And what you're seeing right now, that's the Hijos del Nazareno on top of the andas or the carriage. And that's the image of the Black Nazarene. It's the image of Jesus Christ carrying the cross. And that image reflects about the sacrifices of Jesus Christ as he walks through his crucifixion. It is a life-size dark wooden sculpture of Jesus Christ carrying the cross. And you can see it barely. It's there. There's a black image of the Black Nazarene holding the cross. And the people surrounding the image, they're called the Hijos del Nazareno. They're the caretakers of the Black Nazarene. And they're also there right now to give directions to the millions of devotees expected today to offer their thanksgiving or to ask for or to pray to the Black Nazarene. Some to ask for better health, better family finances, or for their safety of their family. And some are there as their panata, as they received answered prayers from their prayer and devotion to the Black Nazarene. A gun ban is in place for today's event. This is in effect in the city of Manila until 8 in the morning of tomorrow. PNP Chief Ronald De La Rosa says only police, military, and law enforcers are allowed to carry firearms. Manila Mayor Joseph Estrada has also declared no classes in all levels and no work in city government office too. And that's for today. This is to ensure public safety and order and to ease traffic. This is CNN Philippines' special coverage of the Feast of the Black Nazarene. Later, we get the latest from the ground at the Quirino Grandstand. We also check how roads in the Manila area are doing at this hour. We'll be back in a bit. Stay with us. Welcome back. CNN Philippines is keeping tabs on the Black Nazarene procession. You can see that on your screens now. The carriage of the Nazareno is now at the Quirino Grandstand. So later on, we will be bringing you live images from there. And this is it. This is a live image of the Traslacion 2017, the Black Nazarene procession underway. So it's still in the Quirino Grandstand, and this image is taken live from the Manila Hotel. It still has not left the area of the Quirino Grandstand. And if you're looking at your screens right now, you're seeing that's the carriage or the andas of the Black Nazarene. It can carry about 50 people, but only members of the Hijos del Nazareno are allowed on top of that carriage. And as you can see, devotees now are still waving their white handkerchief. Some are even throwing it at the carriage for any member of the Hijos del Nazareno to catch it, wipe it on the image of the Black Nazarene, and send it back to the crowd. So this is a clearer image, or we're showing you an image near to the carriage, the andas. Okay, and you can hear a member of the Hijos del Nazareno doing the counting just before the carriage moves forward. And one member also directing the crowd to step aside, to move to the side, to allow the carriage to pass. Now, CNN Philippines continues to monitor the Traslacion 2017, and we've been giving you this live coverage since 5 in the morning. It's expected that this procession is going to last for hours, up to 14 to 20 hours before the carriage or the image of the Black Nazarene returns back to its home in Quiapo Church. According to our time, as we have been monitoring since 5 a.m., the procession officially started around 5:30 a.m. after the morning mass. The carriage now is moving forward, and you're seeing the Hijos del Nazareno on top of that carriage, and they are surrounding, protecting the image of the Black Nazarene. And we can't see clearly the image of the Black Nazarene, but the statue, it's a life-size sculpture of Jesus Christ carrying the cross. It represents his passion and suffering. And many believe, devotees believe, that this image is miraculous. So it is estimated that there are hundreds of devotees right now, hundreds of thousands of devotees right now there at the Quirino Grandstand. Now, how are roads in the Manila area doing right now? Let's head to the Manila Command Center. Our Ivy Saunar is there. Ivy, how's the traffic in Manila?
Hi, Emmeline. Good morning. Yes, that's right. Several roads here in Manila are already closed to traffic due to the Traslacion. So for motorists headed here, if you don't want to get stuck in traffic, then these are the areas to avoid. The stretch of MacArthur, Jones, and Quezon Bridge, Rojas Boulevard from Katigbak Drive to TM Calao Street, Taft Avenue from Ayala Boulevard to Bonifacio Shrine, both lanes of Quezon Boulevard from A. Mendoza and Fugoso Street, and España Avenue to P. Campos Street. Rerouting of vehicles started this midnight. Now, if you're coming from Quezon City using the stretch of España Avenue, you better turn right to P. Campos Street, then turn left to A. Mendoza Street. Turn right again to Fugosa Street, then right to CM Recto Avenue to your point of destination. Vehicles coming from Legarda Street shall turn right to CM Recto Avenue or turn left to Mendiola Street to your point of destination. Then vehicles coming from Caloocan City utilizing Rizal Avenue shall turn right to Fugosa Street or CM Recto Avenue to point of destination. Also, from 7 a.m. to 12 noon today, all buses coming from the southern part of Manila will not be allowed to enter Taft Avenue, while other streets included in the route of the Traslacion will be closed as the procession approaches, but will immediately open after the procession's tail end has passed. Amelin?
That was Ivy Saunar reporting from the Manila Command Center. Authorities are rerouting traffic in the Quiapo, Manila area to make way for the procession. So if you're passing through there, a heads up. For those passing through Bonifacio Drive, turn right at Roberto Oca Street, left at Delgado, left at 25th, left at Bonifacio Drive, right at A. Soriano, then on to Magallanes Drive. You then turn right to P. Burgos, straight to Lagusnilad, and on to Taft Avenue. Other southbound vehicles should turn left at A. Soriano Street. Northbound vehicles taking Taft should turn right at A. Villegas and then right at Quezon Bridge. If you're passing through Rojas Boulevard headed to P. Burgos, take a right at TM Calao. Now for those coming from Quezon City and passing through España, take a right at P. Campa, left at Andalucia, right at Fugoso, then left at T. Mapua. Next is for public jeepneys and other light vehicles coming from España. Now for vehicles coming from Divisoria and taking Recto, turn right at T. Alonso, right at Fugoso, left at Oroquieta, right at Alvarez, and left at Andalucia. Vehicles coming from Legarda have two options. You can turn right to CM Recto or left at Mendiola. Heavy vehicles and cargo trucks coming from the south can take Osmeña, then turn right at Quirino Avenue, on to Nagtahan, and then toward Capulong. Motorists headed to the north or south of Manila can either take Lacson Avenue to Nagtahan or Road 10 to Rojas Boulevard. And finally, here's a reminder for buses coming from southern Manila and taking Taft. You would have to turn once you get to Quirino Avenue on Traslacion Day. Let's check on Claudine Trillo again. Claudine joins us again from the Quirino Grandstand. Claude, what's happening right now?
Amelin, things have quieted down a bit here in the Quirino Grandstand with the host giving a bit of a break. If you ask me, I think it's a bit better when he doesn't really shout from the stage because it heightens the energy level. Now that it's quiet down in the stage, things have somewhat slowed down a bit. Right behind me, you see the carriage. The ones guarding it have lights on their shirts. It's still a bit of a mess over there, but less now, like I mentioned, that now that the host kind of quiet down. Just to give a bit of a rundown of what has happened so far, the crew and I have been here since 4 in the morning. The 5 o'clock a.m. mass started, and it was very solemn. My favorite part, again, as I mentioned earlier, with the white flags up in the air, people singing Viva Nazareno, very solemn part of the Black Nazarene. But now is the Traslacion, which has already started. Last year, Amelin, 1,000 people have been medically treated for some injuries and dizziness. You know, those are the normal things that happen every year. So this year, I'm sure we will have some reports on that as well. But security has been very good. A while ago, the host on the stage kept saying thank you to all of the police personnel that have been deployed here in the Quirino Grandstand. It feels safe. People are still walking around barefoot. I don't think they really care if they get hurt. This is all part of the Black Nazarene. Like you mentioned, people, Filipinos in particular, feel a certain connection to the Black Nazarene. First of all, it being color black. They feel like it's them. Second of all, they feel that it's the statue, it being in a genuflected position, shows that sinners can repent and will find forgiveness and life again. So that's what all the devotees here believe. And they will be continuing on throughout the day in the Traslacion. Again, as we mentioned earlier, around 16 million people expected to join the procession. So we're going to go and watch it here from my end and give you more updates throughout the day. Back to you, Amelin.
Claudine Trillo there. We'll check on her again later. This is a special coverage of CNN Philippines on Traslacion 2017. We have more updates in a few minutes. Up next is New Day at 6 a.m. Stay tuned to CNN Philippines. And that's an image taken live from the Manila Hotel. And as you can see at the center of the image, that is the carriage or the andas, and on top of it is the image of the Black Nazarene. And surrounding the Black Nazarene are the Hijos del Nazareno. These are the caretakers of the Black Nazarene. So we can hear the song. We can hear a song. We understand this is they've been singing the Viva del Nazareno, the song for the Black Nazarene. And it's estimated, the crowd estimate right now there at the Quirino Grandstand is at the hundreds of thousands, about 400,000 are there. About that number joined the Pahalik, which started earlier this morning, which was followed by the morning mass. And immediately after the morning mass, the procession started. It has stopped a bit. It has stopped for a while, as you can see, there in that particular area, where devotees surrounding the carriage are throwing their white hankies, giving it to the Hijos del Nazareno to wipe it at the image, which devotees believe is miraculous. Devotees from all over the Philippines participate in this January 9 Feast of the Black Nazarene. Some for thanksgiving, for answered prayers, and for some asking for a miracle to happen in their lives. It's Monday, the 9th of January. It's a new day, everyone. I'm Amelin Veloso.
It's a nice, cool morning here in the Quirino Grandstand. As you mentioned earlier, around 400,000 people already here this morning, with millions of devotees expected to join today's Traslacion, which starts here in the Quirino Grandstand and ends in the Quiapo Church in Manila. The host started talking again. There was a lull for a while, which sort of let the energy calm down a bit, but now that he's talking, people are starting to get that energy back up again. Just a bit of a background. Last year, 1.5 million devotees joined the Traslacion. It lasted a full 20 hours. Now, the longest was back in 2012, lasting 22 hours, if I'm not mistaken. Now, it's not a far walk from here to the Quirino Church. It's actually just around 3 kilometers. But because of the number of people and the stampede that it causes, because of people wanting to touch the statue, it takes a bit longer than usual. So this year we're expecting it to be a bit longer with the amount of people we are expecting. Security forces have been deployed in the area. I've been seeing a lot of police personnel here manning the crowd, so it does still feel safe. But a while ago we saw already a bit of a stampede starting by the stage. We're expecting that to get even more later on in the day. So we're standing ground here in the Quirino Grandstand. Again, this will end at the Quiapo Church, and we'll be giving you live feeds throughout the day here on CNN Philippines. Back to you, Amelin.
Claudine Trillo there. She will join us again later and give us updates on the procession constantly throughout the morning. Government agencies are on alert for Traslacion 2017. The National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council has activated its response clusters for any eventuality during the event. NDRRMC Executive Director Ricardo Halad says their operations center in Camp Aguinaldo, Quezon City is on alert for both Traslacion and Tropical Depression Auring. The Health Department has placed all hospitals in Metro Manila under Code Blue alert. This means half of all hospital personnel shall report for duty. The agency will be in constant coordination with the NDRRMC to monitor the situation. DOH spokesperson Eric Tayag says they are deploying 8 medical teams along the Traslacion route. The MMDA is also imposing a temporary truck ban along Rojas Boulevard from Quirino Avenue to Anda Circle. Osmeña Highway is also covered by this directive. The truck ban is now in effect and will remain until 1 p.m. Let's take a look at where the procession will pass. The procession starts from Quirino Grandstand, turn left to Katigbak Drive through P. Burgos Street. It will turn left to Taft Avenue through Jones Bridge, right on Dasmariñas Street, right on Plaza Santa Cruz Street, then left on Carlos Palanca Sr. Street by passing under Quezon Bridge. From there, it will turn left again to Quezon Boulevard, right on Arlegues Street, right on Fraternal Street, right on Vergara Street, then left on Duque de Alba Street. From that area, it will turn left on Castillejo Street, left on Farnesio Street, right on Arlegues Street, left on Nepomuceno Street, then it will turn left on Concepcion Aguila Street. The procession will proceed to Carcer Street, right on Hidalgo through Plaza del Carmen. Left on Bilibid Viejo through Hill Puyat, it will turn left again on ZP de Guzman Street, all the way to Hidalgo Street. And finally, it will turn left on A. Bautista Street. It will turn right on Globo de Oro by passing under Quezon Bridge, right on Palanca Street. From there on to Villalobos through Plaza Miranda until the procession returns to Quiapo Church. How's the security situation in and around Quirino Grandstand? We now speak to NCRPO Chief Director Oscar Albayalde. Good morning, Director Albayalde. Thanks for taking our call.
Yes, good morning.
So, sir, how many policemen, all in all, are deployed to secure the procession?
Now we are on full deployment. We have around 4,750 uniformed policemen and around 1,222 others coming from the Armed Forces of the Philippines, the Philippine Coast Guard, the Bureau of Fire, and Bureau of Jail.
Okay, so what's your assessment of the general security situation right now?
Well, the general security situation is peaceful. We have not received any threat or any danger. And I think the telecom companies have granted our request to momentarily cut off the signal in that area.
Okay, just to clarify, sir, so there is no cell phone signal in the Quirino area?
Yes.
Okay, and how long will this take?
Until the procession finishes in Quiapo Church.
Okay, so what is your crowd estimate at the moment, Director Albayalde?
Now the crowd estimate at the moment is around 600,000.
It's already at 600,000. Now, Director Albayalde, we could see some policemen earlier, and they were seated on the bleachers of the Quirino Grandstand. So these police officers, will they be staying all throughout the procession?
No, after the procession will leave the grandstand, they'll be transferred or leapfrog, going to other segments of the procession route, and they'll stay there as also, and they'll be detailed there as security also.
Any untoward incidents so far, sir?
So far, we have received none.
Okay, now updated. What's your update on the reports on threat groups that may hamper the procession?
Well, so far we have not received any clear or present danger as to any terror threat that could disrupt the peaceful conduct of the Traslacion as of this moment. However, the threat remains to be there as we have maintained our high security threat level with regards to the threat, particularly on this event.
Now, any other concerns that need police attention and action or the public's assistance?
So far, we have none. Of course, we have fully informed the public of all that's not allowed, especially now that flying of the drone is also prohibited, and also the suspension of the permit to carry firearms outside the residence until 8 a.m. of January 10.
Very quickly, sir, what are the other reminders that you have for devotees, aside from, of course, no flying of the drone, and there is the gun ban at the moment? What else should they be reminded of?
Well, number one is the carrying of backpacks. We did not allow them to carry backpacks, especially those packs that are not transparent, or the bags that are not transparent, where we could not see what's inside. And of course, the devotees who are drunk and bringing in liquor, we do not allow those things also.
Okay, thank you so much for speaking with us, sir.
Thank you, and good morning.
Grandstand, as people have already started in the Traslacion on its way to the Quiapo Church. Now, we have been keeping watch here since the 5 o'clock morning mass, where faith and devotion was once again demonstrated by the devotees. But where faith was high, discipline is definitely low. I don't know if you guys can see the amount of trash left by the participants here in the Quirino Grandstand. It's a sea of plastic bags and paper bags all over the place. Now, there are volunteers to help out with the cleaning, but they're going to be up for some work as there's a lot of trash left here this morning. The host is still speaking on stage. If you can hear, it's mostly asking some of the crowd members for lost loved ones. There have been some moms who have been missing their kids, and this is all standard. This happens every year, so they've been calling out some of these members of the family members on stage in case they find themselves. Besides that, things have been very safe here in the Quirino Grandstand. If you remember, for the past few days, there have been talks of security threats looming in the background. People have been saying it was going to be unsafe, but so far so good. Nothing bad has happened here in the Quirino Grandstand. People have been safe. Police have been by the hundreds here deployed in the area, keeping things under watch. So far so good. That's it, Amelin. Back to you.
Claudine Trillo there. We'll check on her again later. A gun ban is in place for today's event. This is in effect in the city of Manila until 8 in the morning of tomorrow. PNP Chief Ronald De La Rosa says only police, military, and law enforcers are allowed to carry firearms. Manila Mayor Joseph Estrada has also declared no classes in all levels and no work in city government offices today too. This is to ensure public safety and order and to ease traffic.
A group of devotees called the Hijos del Nazareno have a special role during the procession. Our Ana Stanislao speaks to some of the group's members.
They're among frontliners who protect the image of the Black Nazarene during the Traslacion. Traslacion is Spanish for moving something from one place to another, in this case the procession of the carriage bearing the icon. They're seen atop the carriage of the Nazareno, catching endless handkerchiefs and towels from the sea of devotees to wipe it on the image and throw it back. It's a scene of organized chaos. And through it all, some members of the Hijos del Nazareno admit it is a difficult task.
Ang gagawin mo lang sa itaas, alalay lang. Kumbaga, sasabihan mo lang ang tao, aawatin mo sila pag nagpupumilit umakyat, sasabihin mo lang sa kanila,
Ambet Nacional of the Hijos del Nazareno is a devotee for 30 years now. He belongs to a chapter called Anpon, which stands for Anak ng Poong Nazareno, or Child of the Revered Nazarene. Nacional says there are certain rules while they are atop the carriage, like helping each other no matter what happens.
Yung iba ka hindi nakakaintindi, nandiyan nga hawakan ka sa leg, hawakan sa buhok, para ilaglag ka nila. Yun ang mga hindi nakakaintindi. Pero hindi nila alam kung gaano kahirap siya taas. Hindi ka makainom ng tubig, kahit uhaw na uhaw ka na, para lang proteksyonan ng mahal na senyor.
But he doesn't mind the hardship out of his devotion to the image. Nacional says it's his way of paying respect for all the blessings he received. Among these, food on the table every day, even if he's been jobless for the last 3 years. A devotee himself, Dakis Conrado, has a different story. He says he suffered a stroke in 2000, and he believes the Black Nazarene healed him. Conrado will also be among those atop the carriage, and he never gets tired doing so even after 3 decades.
Hindi mo may paliwanag din kasi nararamdaman mo pag andun ka na eh. Hindi mo marama ko excited, ano basta yung feeling mo sa puso mo nasa kanya-kanya, nasa palataya ka sa kanya.
Conrado and Nacional believe their commitment to the Black Nazarene comes from deep within, and they would continue doing so at the risk of everything out of their reverence to the Black Nazarene. Ana Estanislao, CNN Philippines.
To understand the history behind the Black Nazarene and the devotion to it, we're now joined by Father Aris Sison, the rector of the Immaculate Conception Cathedral of Cubao, and sociologist of religion, Dr. Kayil Cornelio. Good morning, Father Aris, and good morning, Jail. Thanks for joining us today.
Good morning.
So let's start first with you, Father Aris. Can you give us a brief history of how the Black Nazarene ended in the Philippines?
According to stories, this was carved by a Mexican artist and was brought to the Philippines in the 1600s. I think first it was in the Church of St. John the Baptist in Intramuros, and then was transferred to its present site in Quiapo.
But the procession, the January 9 procession, started just a few decades ago.
Yes, it's called Traslacion. That means the transfer from the church in Intramuros to Quiapo.
Okay, so that was basically the reason. They just wanted to reenact it.
Yes.
And that's how it all started.
Also because Traslacion seems to be an old Spanish term for procession. So either of the two meanings would be behind the present practice of that procession from Luneta to the Quiapo Church.
Now, Jail, Filipinos have this panata, panata nila na mag-a-attend sila, panata that every January 9 they have to be there. Where does that stem from? Why do we have that belief?
Father Aris and I were talking about this just now, and much of it, I think, operates for sociologists of religion, the idea that religion is also sometimes transactional.
What does that mean?
So meaning, I seek the Lord's favor, and then in return, I do something. And I think Panata operates much in that kind of agreement that when the Lord provides me with something, I have this devotion to do this. That's why much of the piety that we see in the Black Nazarene, or not only the Black Nazarene, in fact, whether it's Santo Niño de Cebu or whether sa Pakil or sa Tayabas or wherever else around the Philippines, you see that people are devoted to a particular icon because they know that this particular saint or this particular image has given them that favor. And that is transmitted from one person to another and even intergenerationally. So my view is that the enduring appeal of the Black Nazarene as an icon is necessarily dependent on how the miracles are encountered, not just by one person, but by the succeeding generations. So even children. That's why we have to encourage them to be religious, but at the same time be cautious that it's not safe to bring your children to
a mass gathering like this one.
But people do anyway. Yeah.
But Father Aris, given that, what does the Catholic Church have to say about this particular devotion? Now, some are saying that it should be more solemn. They have their own they have their own interpretation. But what does the Catholic say about this?
We call this folk religiosity. It is not the official worship of the Church, but this is the people expressing their faith, their religiosity. And several of the archbishops of Manila have already
said that in order to understand the devotion to the Black Nazarene, one has to be a devotee. Because it's different when you're looking at it from the outside. But when you're there, when you're one among them, then you understand why they have the panata and why it's so deep in each of the devotees.
Yeah, speaking of this panata and this belief that touching the image would bring about miraculous events in their lives. But is it really necessary? Does one really need to touch the image of, for example, the Black Nazarene? Can one just pray, for example, and go to Quiapo?
Of course. But even in the scriptures, during the time of Jesus, remember that story of the woman who was suffering from hemorrhage for many, many years? And hearing about the visit of Jesus to their town, she said, if I could only touch the tassel of his cloak, I will be healed. So even in biblical times, the touch has a certain value in people. Of course, it's possible just to pray from a distance. It is possible, but touching, especially for Filipinos.
Especially for Filipinos,
seems to be very important.
Now that touching, Jail, where does that stem from?
Sure.
Usually, what culture is this evident?
Well, there are two ways to approach this, the touching. At one level, it is that some studies show that it might be derived from a pre-Hispanic Filipino religiosity or piety, that energy is transferred from nature, for example, and then you have to do that. So my own studies, for example, in Quezon demonstrate this and have shown this. But at the same time, I also want to relate it to the fact that Filipino Catholic piety also operates in terms of one's relationship with the particular icon. So the Black Nazarene is not just God, but he could also be a brother, or he could also be a father. It could also be someone
how you
that
see
I could
it.
relate it. Yeah. So in Bicol, we see that the same pattern. Apang Hinulid, for example, the dead Christ is seen as someone that I am related to. So there's that intimacy that operates within that piety.
Now, there are different miraculous statues all over the Philippines, miraculous sites. How does one choose? Is it like one choosing or the other way around? I mean, how does one become, for example, a devotee of the Santo Niño in Cebu, or a devotee of the Black Nazarene? How does that come about?
I think it's passed on from one generation to another. I think it's maybe where you are. Like, for example, the Santo Niño in Cebu is very popular. The Peña Francia in Bicol. So the people there have that very strong affinity, feeling of closeness to the Virgin.
But at the same time, there's also a gender aspect to it. So we see that piety in Baclaran, for example, it's generally, not absolutely, generally feminine. Right? But the piety that you see in Quiapo is very masculine. Not absolutely, but still generally. So we have to factor that in. This is rowdy because it demonstrates the masculinity of the participants. In fact, one anthropologist, my friend, who's based in London, si Paul Tremlett, he argues that when men are here, they encounter God through the invincibility that they have there. It's very competitive, right? To be able to reach for the rope, for example, or to even to throw in your towel.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of brawn.
You're right, because if, for example, if it's the Feast of the Immaculate Conception, we won't be expecting this. It's usually more women, and it's usually more prayerful or something like that. But what about the youth? I mean, you mentioned about generations, that it's transferred from one generation to another. Jail, I know you wrote a book called Being Catholic in the Contemporary Philippines, Young People Reinterpreting Religion. I mean, how do the young people now, or the younger generation, how do they view such piety or such devotion?
Oh, there is always that tension. So Father Aris just now mentioned that there's this tension between official religion and then folk religion or popular religion. In my research, many Catholic youth are also wary of not just popular religion as such, but also of the institution. One key sentence or one key idea that I have in the book is that for many young people, right living is more important than right believing. What does that mean? So I've encountered a lot of Catholic youth who would rather volunteer for a relief operation than go to church on a particular Sunday, for example. So yes, we might see that young people may be participating in events like this, but that is not the sukatan or the measure of being Catholic these days. That's why my argument is that they are reinterpreting religion in other ways.
In other ways, but not necessarily not believing in it already, not necessarily not believing in it, but the practices
The
may
practices
change.
are changing, yes. The piety is changing.
Okay, so Father Aris, do you see that? Is it, for example, participation in church activities or procession dwindling?
Because piety is one aspect of religiosity. Going out and serving the needy, for example, is another. Like the devotion to the Black Nazarene has at times been criticized, saying it's just me and God, no connection to my neighbor. So I think it was Cardinal Rosales, the former Archbishop of Manila, who kept encouraging the people that after your devotion to the Black Nazarene, go out and help your neighbor also. So these are things we have to emphasize. And while the devotion is very good, we are always called to grow and understand our faith better, live our faith, share our faith with others.
How would that be, in the future? What would happen now to this particular devotion, given that these practices, you mentioned something about, being able to touch the image, but through your research, you found out that they have a different interpretation of how they want to show their emotion. What will happen now to this kind of devotion?
To be honest, I think the general condition of Catholicism in the Philippines is that it is diverse. It is as diverse as it gets. You've got El Shaddai on one hand, you've got Bo Sanchez for the middle class, and then you've got popular piety like this. Many people think that as societies, and sociologists have thought in the 20th century that as societies modernize, religion is bound to fade away. That's called secularization theory. It's not really happening in many parts of the world. In fact, it's only happening perhaps just in Europe, and certainly not in Asia and in the Philippines. What we are seeing here is that religious formations are happening across among different groups based on class, based on gender, based on generation. So therefore, the enduring legacy of Quiapo, for example, is necessarily dependent on whether that piety approaches the aspirations and the needs of people. When that piety loses that flair, you can expect that kind of devotion to fade away eventually. And then people will look for or will demand something else. The homo religiosus argument that man is inherently religious.
So what's your message to the devotees or to the Catholics for today, Father Aris?
This is a very important part of our religiosity as Filipinos. And this is a reminder for all of us of the closeness of God to us. During Christmas, we heard that beautiful message that the Son of God is called Emmanuel, God with us. God is present to us, and precisely the Black Nazarene is one such sign of how the Filipinos feel the closeness of Jesus to them. So this is something that we should cherish, and that the child who was born on Christmas Day did not remain a child. So in the same way, we are also invited to grow in our faith and mature in our faith.
Okay. So thank you so much for joining us this morning and enlightening us with your this new view from the Quirino Grandstand, and it's still at the Quirino Grandstand even at this time of the day, which is 7 in the morning. And it's still a long day ahead for devotees of the Black Nazarene, and their journey will last hours, taking them from the Quirino Grandstand to Quiapo Church. Claudine Trillo joins us from the Quirino Grandstand. Claude, what's happening there right now?
Amelin, it's a great job for the PNP and the AFP so far, who, if you can see up in the bleachers, are the only ones left here in the Quirino Grandstand so far. Everyone has already dispersed on their way to the Quiapo Church for the Traslacion. Sadly, if you can look around, things are pretty messy here in the Quirino Grandstand. People didn't really pick up after themselves. Devotees really kept things dirty here, but we have volunteers who are already sweeping the area, and hopefully this will all be cleared out in a few hours. Aside from that, just a bit of an update. We started the Traslacion this morning with a 5 a.m. Mass. That was very solemn. As I mentioned, it was a very good job for the security forces deployed here today, who kept everyone safe. And so far, no reports of any major injuries. As I mentioned, last year, there were 1,000 minor injuries reports of dizziness. Someone actually had a heart attack. But this year, so far, none reported here in the Quirino Grandstand, but I'm sure later on I can double check if there were any. But aside from that, things have been peaceful. And that's it. Everyone is on their way now to the Quiapo Church. So far, so good here, Amelin. And I had a great time covering this year's 2017 Black Nazarene procession. Back to you, Amelin.
Claude, is the Andas still within the vicinity of the Quirino Grandstand, or is it already outside the Quirino Grandstand?
From where I'm standing, from my point of reference right now, I don't see it anymore. Actually, you guys had a better view of the entire procession because our crew cab was in a great position, better than any of the networks. Actually, they had a really good shot of it. From where I'm standing, it's not anymore within the Quirino Grandstand premises. It was a bit of a slow-moving procession for a while there because the stampede was already happening in the start of the movement. But right now, no, I don't see it anymore. I think they've already moved outside the Quirino Grandstand. Last year, Amelin, it took 20 hours for it to get to the... Sorry, let me just fix my override. It took 20 hours to get from here to the Quiapo Church. And this year, I'm expecting that it will be a bit more because it was quite slow. But yeah, it's not here anymore and it's already on its way to the Quiapo Church. Amelin.
Okay, Claudine Trillo there. She will join us again later and give us updates on the procession constantly throughout the morning. Now, government agencies are on alert for Traslacion 2017. The National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council has activated its response clusters for any eventuality during the event. NDRRMC Executive Director Ricardo Halad says their operations center in Camp Aguinaldo, Quezon City is on alert for both Traslacion and Tropical Depression Auring. The Health Department has placed all hospitals in Metro Manila under Code Blue Alert. This means half of all hospital personnel shall report for duty. The agency will be in constant coordination with the NDRRMC to monitor the situation. DOH spokesperson Eric Tayag says they are deploying 8 medical teams along the Traslacion route. The MMDA is also imposing a temporary truck ban along Rojas Boulevard from Quirino Avenue to Andas Circle. Osmeña Highway is also covered by this directive. The truck ban is now in effect and will remain until 1 p.m. As we celebrate the Feast of the Black Nazarene, we bring you some trivia on the annual tradition. Watch this.
the procession. Farah offers her son to the Black Nazarene every year. She prays that her son will stay healthy despite his condition.
Simula nung pinanganak ko siya, nakitaan ko ng pagbabago yung anak ko. Hindi siya nagkakasakit. Never pa siya na dinala kahit minsan sa hospital. Tapos doon na siya kumain ng malakas. Kaya taon-taon talaga sinisikap namin makapunta talaga dito.
On midnight before the Traslacion, Cardinal Luis Antonio Tagle led the celebration of a Holy Mass. His homily centered about how God taught us to love. He says loving means to stop judging one another.
Ito ang isang uri o aspeto ng pag-ibig na kailangan natin para magkaisa. Kasi po, ang pagkakahati-hati kalimitan bunga ng panghuhusga. Sila mali, ako tama, magkaiba kami. Kayo marumi, ako malinis, magkaiba tayo. At kapag ganyan ang ganyan, wala tayong maaabot na pagkakaisa dahil walang kakayahan na sabihin hindi naman tayo iba sa isa't isa.
He reminds people that loving also means doing good for his fellow men.
At ikalawa, pag-ibig na kahit hindi sumisigaw, hindi nagsasalita, gumagawa para sa ikabubuti ng kapwa. Yan ang pag-ibig na magtataguyod ng pagkakaisa sa pamilya, sa parokya, sa ating pong barangay, sa ating bansa, at sa buong mundo.
At around 2:30 in the morning, the crowd was estimated at 400,000, and it is expected to swell up to millions of devotees as the procession begins. Yumi Lugod, CNN Philippines.
Started at around 5:30 this morning, and these are images taken from the Manila Hotel. So as you can see, a sea of people, a sea of devotees, hundreds of thousands of devotees surrounding the andas or the carriage carrying the image of the Black Nazarene. And this is a life-size statue of Jesus Christ. It's a dark wooden sculpture of Jesus Christ carrying the cross. And a number of devotees are waiting for the Black Nazarene carriage at the Bonifacio Shrine. Our senior correspondent David Santos is on the ground with the latest. David, what are you seeing there?
Well, Ameline, the head of the procession or the Traslacion just passed by this area, where we are now in front of the Bonifacio Shrine around 30 minutes ago. And what we are showing to you now are more devotees filling the streets in this part of Padre Burgos Avenue. For the past hour or so, many of the replicas of the Black Nazarene have been paraded, passing through this area. Aside from those who are joining the procession, many of the devotees are also standing by just in front of this shrine, perhaps waiting for the andas or the main carriage of the Black Nazarene to pass by in order to get their opportunity to get close, and perhaps touch or perhaps throw their clothes towards the andas. Now, behind me, Ameline, is the first aid station of the makeshift hospital set up by the Philippine Red Cross, along with other medical units, medical agencies under the Manila City government. Quite a number or some devotees have sought help or sought first aid help in this first aid station. Some of them were complaining of chest pains and dizziness, but so far as we speak, there are no major medical cases reported so far. We're also seeing a number of business entrepreneurial enterprising Pinoys who have been selling some of their most of them are selling food stuff here, perhaps taking advantage of the huge crowd that had converged in this area. Some are selling sandwiches, mineral water, soft drinks, perhaps for many of the devotees who have stayed overnight to be able to join the ceremonies for the Traslacion. According to some of the security personnel who have been observing the pace of this procession, they're saying that in the past years, compared to the past years, the start or the head of the procession had passed through here this year at around 7 o'clock. That's about 2 hours earlier compared to past processions, to past years, wherein at around this time, perhaps the head of that procession have not reached this particular point. We will give you more updates on the situation here in front of the Bonifacio Shrine as they happen throughout the morning. Back to you, Emily.
That was David Santos reporting from the Bonifacio Shrine.
Okay, I just have to say that what an incredible show of faith from Filipinos today. So it's a great day today. And that's it for us this Monday.
Stories from the faithful and just why they are so devoted to the Black Nazarene. Meantime, we're monitoring a cyclone that is sweeping through the Philippines at this moment. Good morning, I'm Amelin Veloso. Thanks for joining us. Our top story is still the Traslacion 2017. It started at around 5:30 this morning, immediately after its morning mass. And we spoke earlier to the Philippine National Police, and Director Oscar Albayalde was telling us that at just that morning, or in the beginning of the Traslacion, they've estimated that the crowd is already by the hundreds of thousands, or about 600,000, and it is expected to rise. And what we are showing you right now is Katigbak Street in Rojas Boulevard. And there we are seeing the andas, or the carriage that is carrying the Black Nazarene. Now, the procession of the Black Nazarene, it is a commemoration of the Black Nazarene's transfer from a Recollect church in Intramuros, Manila, where it was first enshrined, to St. John the Baptist Church in Quiapo, Manila. And that was on January 9, 1787. So this procession, which started in the at the Carino Grandstand, will pass through different routes until it goes back to its home, which is the Minor Basilica of the Black Nazarene in Quiapo. So this is what we're showing you right now is at the Bonifacio Shrine. Our David Santos is there, and hopefully we get to speak with David so he can tell us more about what's happening there right now. Although what we are seeing are devotees, of course, of the Black Nazarene, and they are still waiting for the Black Nazarene to pass by this area. Early on, if you could see some statues, these are replicas of the Black Nazarene. Meantime, government agencies are on alert for Traslacion 2017. Now, the National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council has activated its response clusters for any eventuality during the event. NDRRMC Executive Director Ricardo Halad says their operations center in Camp Aguinaldo, Quezon City, is on alert for both Traslacion and Tropical Depression Auring. The Health Department has placed all hospitals in Metro Manila under Code Blue Alert. This means half of all hospital personnel shall report for duty. The agency will be in constant coordination with the NDRRMC to monitor the situation. DOH spokesperson Eric Tayag says they are deploying 8 medical teams along the Traslacion route. The MMDA is also imposing a temporary truck ban along Rojas Boulevard from Quirino Avenue to Anda Circle. Osmeña Highway is also covered by this directive. The truck ban is now in effect and will remain until 1 p.m. A group of devotees called the Hijos del Nazareno have a special role during the procession. Our Ana Stanislao speaks to some of the group's members.
They're among frontliners who protect the image of the Black Nazarene during the Traslacion. Traslacion is Spanish for moving something from one place to another, in this case the procession of the carriage bearing the icon. They're seen atop the carriage of the Nazareno, catching endless handkerchiefs and towels from the sea of devotees to wipe it on the image and throw it back. It's a scene of organized chaos. And through it all, some members of the Hijos del Nazareno admit it is a difficult task.
Ang gagawin mo lang sa itaas, alalay lang. Kumbaga, sasabihan mo lang ang tao, aawatin mo sila pag nagpupumilit umakyat, sasabihin mo lang sa kanila, pagkatapos yun nga nagbaba na kayo.
Ambet Nacional of the Hijos del Nazareno is a devotee for 30 years now. He belongs to a chapter called Anpon, which stands for Anak ng Poong Nazareno, or Child of the Revered Nazarene. Nacional says there are certain rules while they are atop the carriage, like helping each other no matter what happens.
Yung iba ka hindi nakakaintindi, nandiyan nga hawakan ka sa leg, hawakan sa buhok, para ilaglag ka nila. Yun ang mga hindi nakakaintindi, pero hindi nila alam kung gaano kahirap siya taas. Hindi ka makaihi, hindi ka makainom ng tubig, kahit uhaw na uhaw ka na, para lang proteksyon ng mahal na senyor.
But he doesn't mind the hardship out of his devotion to the image. Nacional says it's his way of paying respect for all the blessings he received. Among these, food on the table every day, even if he's been jobless for the last 3 years. A devotee himself, Dakis Conrado, has a different story. He says he suffered a stroke in 2000, and he believes the Black Nazarene healed him. Conrado will also be among those atop the carriage, and he never gets tired doing so even after 3 decades.
Hindi mo may paliwanag din kasi nararamdaman mo pag andun ka na eh. Hindi mo marama ko excited, ano basta yung feeling mo sa puso mo, nasa kanya-kanya, nasa palataya ka sa kanya.
Conrado and Nacional believe their commitment to the Black Nazarene comes from deep within, and they would continue doing so at the risk of everything out of their reverence to the Black Nazarene. Ana Stanislao, CNN Philippines.
Still a long day ahead for devotees of the Black Nazarene. Their journey will last hours, taking them from the Quirino Grandstand to Quiapo Church. Our senior correspondent David Santos joins us from the Bonifacio Shrine. David, what's happening where you are now?
Well, hello, Ameline. We're still showing to you live pictures from Bonifacio Shrine, where you can see the sea of devotees still passing through this area. Many of them still waiting for the andas to pass by. As we understand, it is still several meters away from where we are now. It's hard to say, Ameline, how the pace is actually going as we speak, because if we are to compare it through last year, around noontime in 2016, the andas passed through this area exactly at around noontime. So if we are to base from that same estimate from last year, we are still still quite a number of hours away before we can actually expect the andas to pass over. Now, what we are showing to you right now are some of the replicas of the Black Nazarene. Many of these replicas are coming from all over Metro Manila, as well as in other nearby provinces. Earlier, a few minutes ago, we got a chance to speak to some of the volunteers who are helping organize the annual event. There's a group of motorcycle club who are volunteering not only to transport logistics and personnel of emergency and medical teams, but also to offer a communication that's very vital at this particular time, Ameline, considering that cell phone signals have been jammed in many parts of the procession route. According to the RG Airwaves group, based on the briefing that the PNP gave them earlier, there will be jamming devices that will be installed around the procession route, and cell phone signals will be jammed at least 5-kilometer radius from the andas or the carriage carrying the Black Nazarene. So far, that's the latest that we have here. We'll bring you more updates throughout the morning, Amelie.
Our senior correspondent David Santos there reporting from the Bonifacio Shrine. Let's take a look at where the procession will pass. The procession starts from the Quirino Grandstand, turn left to Katigbak Drive through P. Burgos Street. It will turn left to Taft Avenue through Jones Bridge, right on Dasmariñas Street, right on Plaza Santa Cruz Street, then left on Carlos Palanca Sr. Street by passing under Quezon Bridge. From there, it will turn left again to Quezon Boulevard, right on Arlegues Street, right on Fraternal Street, right on Vergara Street, then left on Duque de Alba Street. From that area, it will turn left on Castillejo Street, left on Farnesio Street, right on Arlegues Street, left on Nepomuceno Street, then it will turn left on Concepcion Aguila Street. The procession will proceed to Carcer Street, right on Hidalgo through Plaza del Carmen, left on Bilibid Viejo through Hilpuyat. It will turn left again on ZP de Guzman Street, all the way to Hidalgo Street, and finally, it will turn left on A. Bautista Street. It will turn right on Globo de Oro by passing under Quezon Bridge, right on Palanca Street, from there on to Villalobos through Plaza Miranda until the procession returns to Quiapo Church. Aris Sison of the Immaculate Conception Cathedral of Cubao, meanwhile, says touching the statue of the Nazarene seems very important, especially to Filipinos.
We call this folk religiosity. It is not the official worship of the church, but this is the people expressing their faith, their religiosity. And several of the archbishops of Manila have already said that in order to understand the devotion to the Black Nazarene, one has to be a devotee. Because it's different when you're looking at it from the outside. But when you're there, when you're one among them, then you understand why they have the panata and why it's so deep in each of the devotees.
Much of it, I think, operates in, for sociologists of religion, the idea that religion is also sometimes transactional.
What does that mean?
So meaning, I seek the Lord's favor, and then in return, I do something. And I think Panata operates much in that kind of agreement that when the Lord provides me with something, I have this devotion to do this. This is rowdy because it demonstrates the masculinity of the participants. In fact, one anthropologist, my friend, who's based in London, si Paul Tremlett, he argues that when men are here, they encounter God through the invincibility that they have there. It's very competitive, right? To be able to reach for the rope, for example, or to even...
JC Gotinga tells us more. JC, can you give us more information about this?
Yes, Ameline, that's right. I am standing here at the Plaza Santa Cruz in Manila, that is in front of the Santa Cruz Church, and I am looking at a black bag that looks like a laptop bag that was left behind at the Carriedo fountain here. So there is a man wearing protective gear that approached the bag a while ago. He did this. He brought equipment, X-ray equipment, and as we understand, their purpose is to scan the contents of the bag to see if it is going to be safe enough for anyone to open, to see whatever is inside that bag. This situation has started about 20 minutes ago. There are police officers here that are sending people away, clearing people away from the radius of the fountain, about 30 to 50 meters away. There are also members of the army standing at strategic points here to make sure nobody comes near the area. We understand that members of the police explosives and ordnance group are the ones now checking this bag. There was, as I have said, an X-ray scan that was carried out about 15 minutes ago, and we spoke with some of these police officers, and they say we don't know yet whether the threat, whether the bag is a threat or not, but right now they are clearing Plaza Santa Cruz. So here, if you come to this area, you will see that the entire square has been cleared. So people are on the sidewalk. There's no one occupying the streets except personnel from the army and the police. Of course, also members of the media are only just now starting to pick up on this. The Traslacion, the Andas, is expected to be in this area at around noon to early afternoon. So we're still a pretty good time away from when this place begins to fill up with people. But already on any given day, this is a busy place. There are a lot of people around here. Amelin.
So JC, just to clarify, so Plaza Santa Cruz, this area is part of the procession route of the Black Nazarene.
Yes.
Okay, so at the moment you mentioned that...
Well, the Andas is not expected to pass exactly on the square because as you know, there is a fountain right in the middle. But it is going to traverse this area, the street that is the corner of Bustos Street, as it makes its way to Palanca Street. So definitely there will be a lot of people here later on. In fact, it is already now beginning to get busier and busier. I am seeing right now an ambulance on standby, several police vehicles on standby as well. Police are having a bit of a hard time keeping people out of the area. Of course, there are more people than there are police officers, but the bag is still there. The radius of the fountain is still clear except for members of the army and of the police who are trying to cordon off the area. Amelin.
Okay, thank you so much, JC Gotinga. Tell us later on what the X-ray scan revealed, and the police already are looking into it, and JC Gotinga was telling us
any threat or any danger, and I think the telecom companies have granted our request to momentarily cut off the signal in that area. Flying of the drone is also prohibited, and also the suspension of the permit to carry firearms outside the residence until 8 a.m. of January 10.
That was our interview earlier with NCRPO Director Oscar Albayalde.